WYFF News 4 at 11 starts right now.
Shots fired at former President Donald Trump.
The former president bleeding, whisked away by Secret Service.
Somebody hollered everybody to the ground, so we're all going down to the ground.
Tonight, the world reacts.
Look, there's no place in America for this kind of violence. It's sick.
We saw the worst of humanity come out.
What we know about former President Trump's recovery, the alleged shooter, and the investigation.
Rallygoers described the scene as complete chaos as shots rang out at a campaign rally for former President Donald Trump.
The moment captured on live television. This was the scene as former President Donald Trump's rally today as he was rushed off the stage after shots were fired. People sent into panic and ducking for cover. The Secret Service saying the gunman and an attendee are now dead. We begin tonight with our team coverage in Milwaukee with Christopher Salas.
He reports from outside the RNC, where Trump is expected to be named the Republican presidential nominee in the coming days.
Tonight, former President Donald Trump says he is fine after being shot at a campaign rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. It was a chaotic scene following what investigators are calling an assassination attempt on the former president's life, and it was all caught on camera. We do want to warn you that this video may be disturbing to some.
Take a look at what happened.
Several shots rang out and the former president was immediately tackled by Secret Service agents. Those shots continued before the agents lifted Trump up, and Trump defiantly raised his fist in the air with a bloodied face. He was rushed off the stage by those agents to be evaluated at the hospital. Again, his campaign says he is fine. In a statement, the former president says, quote, "I was shot with a bullet that pierced the upper part of my right ear. I knew immediately that something was wrong and that I heard a whizzing sound, shots, and immediately felt the bullet ripping through the skin." The former president added that nothing is known about the gunman at this time. Police shot and killed that person. They also found an AR-style rifle at the scene. Meanwhile, another rally goer was killed, and the Butler County District Attorney said that another attendee was also shot. They were taken to a local hospital, and they are in serious condition. Again, the FBI and Secret Service are investigating this shooting as an assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump's life. Here in Milwaukee, host to the Republican National Convention, you can already see that security is beefing up, and it's unclear how this shooting on the former president is going to impact the convention's schedule or security here in Milwaukee. Reporting in Milwaukee, I'm Christopher Salas. Now back to you.
Christopher, thank you. New information just in on how the shooting unfolded. That information coming from Secret Service and law enforcement sources.
Our national investigative correspondent, John Cardinale, is in Washington, D.C., keeping us up to date. John?
Hello, Butler, and hello to Pennsylvania.
Former President Donald Trump was speaking at a podium about border crossing numbers with his supporters behind him. That's when 5 shots over the course of 2 seconds rang out. You can see right at the second bang, Trump grabs the right side of his head and then gets down to the ground after the 5th shot. Watch as Secret Service then jump on top of him. You can hear people yelling to take cover. 2 seconds later, those bangs begin again, 5 or 6 in a row. 10 seconds go by and there's another pop, and people in the crowd scream. 31 seconds later, you can hear personnel, apparently Secret Service or security, say this.
Good to move. We're clear.
After a few more seconds, the podium microphone picks up Trump saying this.
Let me get my shoes.
I got you, sir.
Let me get my shoes, sir.
Hold that in your head. It's bloody.
So we got to move to the bus.
After all of that, Secret Service rushes Trump off the stage. That's when we saw him give the fist pump to the crowd with blood on his face. And we hear the USA chants from his supporters.
And we're continuing our breaking news coverage of the attack of former President Donald Trump.
White House correspondent Kaylin Norwood has reaction from what President Joe Biden had to say about what happened.
It's sick. It's sick. It's one of the reasons why we have to unite this country.
President Joe Biden giving an emergency briefing from Delaware after a suspected assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump Saturday night. Biden said he's relieved to hear Trump's doing well and thanks Secret Service for getting the former president to safety. The head of Secret Service and Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas briefed the president shortly after the shooting at his political opponent and presumptive Republican nominee's rally.
The idea that there's political violence or violence in America like this is just unheard of. It's just not appropriate. And everybody must condemn it. Everybody.
That was Kayla Norwood reporting. Here at home, lawmakers and political experts weighing in on the shooting as they were preparing for the Republican National Convention, which begins on Monday.
Our Maya Payton has been speaking with them, and she joins us now with the latest. Maya?
Yeah, Carol, Nigel, the impact of that moment was felt everywhere for those who watched it, including here in our state. Those I spoke to today are hoping peace will now enter what they are calling an intense election season. One of the most intense election seasons is what political experts are calling this race to November. It's going past debates and differences, entering a stage of emotions and anger, explains Bob Jones political science professor Linda Abrams.
I think what we've seen here today, unfortunately, unfold is that if you think Donald Trump is the personification of evil, then it makes this kind of behavior acceptable, and that is a very dangerous place to be. Hopefully this will bring a little more civility to the campaign, but we'll just have to wait and see.
Today in Charleston, a Senate Republican meeting underway. That's where Spartanburg District 11 Senator Josh Kimbrell was sitting when he learned that gunfire erupted at Trump's rally.
This is shocking. I mean, we haven't had an American president or a former president really be shot since Ronald Reagan. I mean, so this is a monumental night. I mean, it's just incredibly sad.
I mean, you were watching the video, the moments where the Secret Service picked up former President Trump, and as they were walking him off the stage, you saw this fist bump that went into the air. What do you think that signified?
Ultimately, raising the fist in the air is kind of a defiance against political violence, an attempt to silence his voice.
Abrams suspects there may be a change in reactions and conduct too as we head toward November.
You know, no matter how you feel about Donald Trump, this is not the way to go. Our democracy collapses if this is how we solve our problems, if we take it outside of the system. You know, if you feel that passionately, then go and vote. That's what you do. You advocate for your cause and you vote. You don't shoot people.
Well, Abrams says as we look forward to the Republican convention on Monday, political attention will also be focused on learning about the shooter, who he was, and his affiliations, and again, how violence is not the answer. Carol, Nigel, back to you.
Maya, thank you. Some of the South Carolina delegation was already in Milwaukee ahead of Monday's RNC.
Our Jamia Reed joins us in the studio, and you spoke to one of those delegates, right?
Yes, that's right, Carol, Nigel. Emotions are running high for many members of the delegation already in place for Monday's convention. We have a live look right now at the RNC. The convention is set to start there on Monday. We spoke with Yvonne Julian, chair of the Greenville Republican Party. She's serving as the South Carolina delegate to the convention in Wisconsin.
I think the mood was shocked, first of all. I mean, you know, people working very hard to try to have a good convention, and they were just shocked that this would happen. But I think just in talking with people in the restaurant, the other mood that you hear for President Trump supporters is it's sort of, you know, in a negative way, it energizes us, you know, and it really reinforces why we need him in office. Because as you and I discussed, I mean, one of his themes for this week is make America safe again.
And Julian went on to say it's time for our leaders to take a deep look at the root of the cause of today's violence and move on from political talking points. Nigel, Carol.
Jamia, thank you. More reaction coming in from leaders across South Carolina and the upstate.
Jane Robelo joins us on set now. And Jane, who are we hearing from?
Carol, we reached out to the top leaders, really, the statewide elected leaders in South Carolina. They reacted pretty quickly on social media once they learned of the attack on President Trump. In fact, one of the men that I reached out to first is the presumptive nominee's short list of vice presidential picks, Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina. He said on X, praying for President Trump. And everyone at the rally in Pennsylvania. May God watch over them all. South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham, also a surrogate for the Trump presidential campaign, said in part, "Thank God President Trump seems to be okay. Just another reminder of the times in which we live." And South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster, the first statewide elected official to endorse Trump back in 2016, said the risks and forces that President Trump is willing to face to serve his country are unbounded. Then he goes on to say that he and the First Lady are praying for Trump's safety, for his family, and for our country.
Jane, thank you very much. And we will have much more on the shooting that injured former President Trump and left 2 dead when we come back.
And coming up in your forecast, we're talking about hotter temperatures that are going to be on the way. We're going to be flirting with 100 degrees early next week. We'll talk more about that and when our next chance for rain is coming up in just a few minutes.
More coverage of the breaking news. Former President Trump injured after shots fired during a campaign rally.
Information and reaction continue to pour in from around the world. NBC's Alice Barr has more from Milwaukee.
Former President Trump is safe tonight after a horrifying moment, an apparent assassination attempt at his rally in Butler County, Pennsylvania. The former president writing on Truth Social that he was shot with a bullet that pierced the upper part of his right ear.
It just went pop, 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 pop. And then as I was staring straight ahead, I looked across and I didn't see anything, so I looked back at President Trump, and that's when he went down.
The U.S. Secret Service says it neutralized the shooter, who is now dead. 1 spectator was killed, 2 others critically injured. The Secret Service saying the shooter fired several shots from an elevated position outside the secured rally venue. The former president had just started speaking shortly after 6 when loud pops rang out. He reached for his ear and dropped to the platform behind the podium as Secret Service agents rushed the stage and surrounded him. Blood could be seen on his right ear running down his cheek toward his mouth, and he pumped his fist to the crowd as he was hustled to a waiting SUV. Former President Trump thanking law enforcement and offering condolences to the person who was killed and those injured. President Biden addressing the nation.
There's no place in America for this kind of violence. It's sick. It's sick. It's one of the reasons why we have to unite this country. We cannot allow for this to be happening. We cannot be like this.
As lawmakers and Americans from both sides of the aisle sent prayers for healing and for peace. In Milwaukee, Alice Barr, NBC News.
Rain chances going up for the second half of the week. I'll show you how much wet weather to expect and when, coming up next.
Last July, some 55,000 people filled the streets in the city of Pickins for a Trump rally.
Jane Robelo joins us now with reaction to today's attack on the former president from someone who was at the heart of the Pickins rally.
That's right. The police chief of Pickins, Randall Beach, coordinated security for that massive rally on July 1st of last year. Chief Beach has law enforcement experience at the local and at the federal level. And tonight I asked him what his reaction was when he learned of today's attack on the former president.
That of a protectee, a current or former president, or anyone who under our law is a protectee, to not have a successful assassination is a wonderful thing.
What went through your mind is, I'm sure you had to have thought back to July 1st of last year. What excellent planning, what excellent coordination you had in place that day.
We did a lot of planning and we did a lot of meeting and thought a lot of things through, but in the final days, I was terrified. I thought of West Virginia. This is Main Street. So when I saw this today, I was very thankful. What does happen now is with after action, there's going to be a great more intensity in planning, I'm sure.
And Chief Beach tells me that in spite of the great risk at every one of these rallies, these kind of political rallies must continue. He says they are the heart of our democracy.
Changing gears to our forecast, it's been a pretty warm summer evening out there. Temperatures right now are still very warm, 84 degrees in Greenville right now. The humidity has gone up over the past couple of days, so it definitely feels like it's even warmer than that. It feels like 88 degrees outside across our area. Did see a couple of isolated showers earlier this evening. Those have since fizzled out, and it's nice and quiet across the area for the moment. Upper 70s to low to mid 80s, depending on where you are exactly across the area. 79 in Clemson, 84 in Greenville, like we mentioned, really warm here. 75 in Spartanburg, mid 70s in Asheville, low 70s towards Cullowhee, and mid to upper 70s across northeast Georgia. Now tomorrow, that's when the heat really starts to crank up a little bit. Today we made it up to a high temperature of 95 at GSP Airport. We're going to be about give or take 2 degrees above that for tomorrow afternoon. We'll get up to the low 90s pretty quickly as early as lunchtime tomorrow, even the mid 90s for folks farther south. And check out those temperatures by the time we get to around 4 to 5 p.m. 98 towards Elberton and Abbeville, 96 for Greenville. And the rain coverage that we're looking at will be pretty similar to what we saw today. Maybe a stray shower here, there, but not much in the grand scheme of things. Those that do get the rain, you'll be the lucky ones. For the rest of us, it's mostly going to be mostly sunshine and pretty hot temperatures. So take extra breaks if you plan on being out and about. Please drink plenty of water. And for the rest of the early part of next week, that will remain the story. Hotter temperatures definitely on the way, carrying into Monday. I think most of us will probably hit 98 to even 99 for that high temperature. The good news is the humidity doesn't look high enough for us to worry about, excessive heat warnings. We saw that last summer, but this time I think the heat index will probably top out around 104 to 105 as opposed to the days we saw last year where we saw the heat index get up to 110. That doesn't look to be in the cards for this, but it is going to be hot no matter how you slice it. Also hot on Tuesday. Wednesday, it probably slows down ever so slightly. I think we'll have slightly better chances for rain, which means I think the high will go from around 99 Monday, Tuesday, down to 96 potentially Wednesday. And for sure by Thursday, we're kind of on the back end of things with better chances for showers and storms. The future radar certainly wants to pinpoint better chances for rain heading into Wednesday and Thursday. Thursday definitely looks like we'll see scattered showers, possibly some storms mixed in. So do look for some improvements by the time you get to the second half of the work week. Here's how the rain chances shake up over the next 7 days. Mainly dry Sunday, Monday, spotty stuff on Tuesday, getting higher up to around where we get into that scattered category by Wednesday and stays that way for Thursday, Friday, and into next Saturday. So there will be some opportunity for some drought relief, just not in the short term. The next 2 to 3 days probably going to be dry, but towards the second half of the forecast, that's where we get some much needed improvement. Other good news is that the tropics are quiet. We don't have any other areas of interest that we're watching. We talked about Beryl a lot the past week and a half to 2 weeks, but we have a big outbreak of Saharan dust right now. That's kind of limiting any potential activity that we could see out there, so thankfully staying nice and quiet in the short term. Here's what I've got for the 4-day. Upper 90s tomorrow, Monday and Tuesday, down to 96 Wednesday, but still hot enough to merit an impact day, I think. Scattered storms return on Wednesday as well. It'll be isolated on Tuesday and then scattered on Wednesday and remaining scattered Thursday and Friday. Thankfully, the high temperatures go down starting Thursday, down to 92, and then down to the mid-80s Friday and Saturday. So finally, we get some improvement from the really hot temperatures that we're going to see for early this week. And for the 40 plus for the mountains, it'll be hot, of course, but not as hot as the upstate, but definitely much more tolerable up there. Highs low 90s Sunday through Tuesday, and then heat backing off a little bit more with scattered thunderstorms most of the second half of next week.
Griffin, thank you very much. All right, recapping the breaking news we have been following for hours tonight. Former President Donald Trump surviving an attack at a campaign rally.
It happened this afternoon north of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, actually a little bit after 6 o'clock. You see here what happened. Shots rang out shortly after the rally began. One of the people attending this rally told NBC News that it happened about 3 minutes in to the rally. The president was shot in the ear. He was whisked off stage by Secret Service and taken to the hospital. He is said to be in good spirits tonight. 2 people are dead, including the shooter. We are awaiting more information about the shooter. He apparently was outside the perimeter of the protected area on top of a roof, at an elevated area at least. We still don't have a name or his affiliation or if he acted alone. We don't know yet. President Biden did speak with former President Trump tonight. He is calling for peace, order, and unity in the country.
We will continue to follow this breaking news as information comes in. And as you could expect, information is coming in minute by minute. We're getting new information from Secret Service, from the White House, from the Trump campaign, and more. And of course, this is a big week for the Republican National Convention, which is taking place in Milwaukee. And you can always get the latest updates on our website, WYFF4.com. For now, we're going to leave you with our coverage. More coverage with NBC News continues right now.